Hey guys, Cameron here with Emerson Property Management. Every week I bring you tools, tactics, strategies, lessons I've learned, things that have helped me build up a sizable rental portfolio in about 2 years, now manage that portfolio. Today, guys, I want to talk about security deposits. So if you're an owner and you're like, man, I have a tenant, everything was great, right? I got my property fixed up, my rehab went well, I found a tenant, it was at a great rent price, and now the tenant wants to vacate and I'm dealing with a security deposit. I've not done this before. You'll want to watch this video. I'm going to cover security deposits. I'm going to soup to nuts for you, at least what we do. So before I get into that, if you guys are enjoying this, please like it and subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you're not finding value in it, give us feedback. Love that as well. We're always trying to improve over here. So let's get into it. Security deposits. This is only for Texas. Again, if you guys are, we have watchers or listeners or whatever from all over the country. So I'm only going to talk about Texas. So what is a security deposit? Sorry guys, there's a fly over here and it's aggravating the crap out of me. What is a security deposit? So security deposit is, and again, every state does it a little differently. We collect 1 month's rent, and that is held in a trust account, or should be held in a trust account. We have to do that because we're held to the NARPM standards, the National Association of Residential Property Managers. But this is basically the tenant's money that is being held to make sure that they leave the property in the condition at which they moved in, less normal wear and tear. So anything above normal wear and tear needs to be subtracted out of the security deposit. Or if they stay and there's prorated rent, they don't pay it, that security deposit can be used for any of the charges that the tenant left you with. Again, as long as it's not normal wear and tear. Now, I mentioned a couple things there quickly, and I should go back. Security deposits are the tenant's money. So I've done some videos on this and little shorts and things, but you have to be cognizant that if you're a small mom and pop landlord, I did it too when I started. I just threw the security deposit in my checking account. I didn't worry about it. It's $1,200, $1,500. I'll give it to them when they move out. If something happens and you use those funds, that's a big no-no. It's treble damages, which means 3 times if you do anything that inhibits the security deposit or misappropriate it. So I've mentioned this 100 times, but property management is the most litigious part of real estate, okay? And security deposits are the most litigious part of property management. Did I say that right? The most litigious part of real estate is property management, and the most litigious part of property management is the security deposits. So you really want to have great documentation and mind your P's and Q's when it comes to security deposits. We have owners come to us strictly because they don't want to do a security deposit. It might have been on Easy Street. They had the tenant in there 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Now they're wanting to move out and they're like, ooh, I don't know. I don't want to deal with that security deposit. Would you guys take that over? And we will. We will handle your security deposit deductions for a tenant we didn't even place. Obviously, there are some stipulations there, but we can get into that on another video. So this is the tenant's money, and it should be, you should set it in a separate account. Again, we have to set it in a trust account, but you can set it in whatever account you want. Just make sure it's set aside. So you put the $1,500 in there, and you just let it sit there. When the tenant moves out, you can take that $1,500. Again, we use 1 month's rent. You can use whatever you want, but we use 1 month's rent. So we take that $1,500 out, and then we go through our deductions, and then we pay the tenant that security deposit or whatever's left. So it's easy to open one up. Doesn't matter what account it is. Just make sure it's in there. You do not, in Texas, you do not have to pay them any of the interest or anything that you get off of those security deposits. So just FYI, interest rates for a long time were very, very much nothing, but now they're 3, 4, 5, 6%, and you don't have to pay the resident any of that. So that's first thing. You got to set that money aside when you get it. Determining what the security deposit is. We always use, like I said, 1 month's rent. There are times where we had some criteria that if the tenant was of a higher risk, you might do a double deposit. I know in California, some people do first month's, last month's rent with security deposit or a double deposit. You can do whatever you want, like I said, as long as you're using the same criteria across all tenants. So you're not discriminating against a certain tenant, giving them one deposit and this a deposit and a half and this two times deposit. So if there's a risk profile and it makes sense for that you're applying to every tenant, you can do 1 month's rent, 1.5, 2 times, 3 times, whatever you want to do. So that's the second thing. Set your security deposit amount. We go with 1 month's rent. There are times where we'll go up to 1.5 or 2 times, but predominantly we go with 1 time's rent. Once you've set that, you have the tenant in, they're going throughout their residency, they give you the notice that, hey, I'm gonna be out, and we do a 60-day notice. So, hey, 60 days from now, I'm gonna be out of the property. Okay, great. They pay rent, the inspection looks fine. We do a semi-annual inspection on the property, it looks fine. The tenant moves out. There are missing light bulbs. I'm just using these as an example, missing light bulbs. Maybe some smoke detector batteries weren't replaced and they were taken down. That comes up a lot. Wall damage, drywall damage. So those would be items that, and again, you have to look at your lease. Our lease makes the tenant, or states that the tenant has to take care of those things. So batteries, light bulbs, stuff like that. I think that's paragraph 17A of the TAR lease as well, if you're looking at that. That has all the tenant responsibilities. So you can charge, you basically have your contractor go out, they give you the scope of work, or you tell them what the scope of work is to get this property rent ready for the next tenant. And they itemize everything, or they should. They do the work. They might find a couple extra things, so you want to wait. You don't want to do the security deposit immediately, right after the move out. You get the contractor in there, you get everything back up to rent-ready standards, or whatever your rent-ready standards are. And then they give you the final invoice. You take that contractor's invoice and you go and you say, okay, this line item was an owner charge, as in I'm the landlord, so this is my charge, this is to me. This hole in the drywall was not normal wear and tear. This is not an owner or my charge, something I should be responsible for. This is tenant. Okay, well, and that was $65 to do that. Okay, boom. And then this, we had 4 light bulbs. There were light bulbs when they moved in. There's 4 missing light bulbs. We charge those at, this price, $10, $15 a piece. Boom. You keep adding that up and you just go through what was done at the property after your contractor was there. And you know what is normal wear and tear. And again, that definition has been thrown around quite a bit. But if you look at it, if you guys just make a common sense judgment, to be honest with you. I could go on and on about the definition and what it states in the lease and whatnot, but use your judgment. So if you got a great tenant that's taking care of the place, you might lean a little bit more on, okay, that was probably normal wear and tear. If somebody's being very destructive, you might not be as lenient. You might be a little bit more strict on what is normal wear and tear. So you go through all your itemizations, tenant or what I'm responsible for as the owner. You add that all up at the bottom. You in Texas have 30 days, 30 days to return or to mail the resident the security deposit. Now, the resident does have to give you a forwarding address before you mail the security deposit. So if somebody goes ghost, doesn't respond to you, doesn't give you a forwarding address, you can just hold that money. But the minute they do give you that forwarding address, you need to pay them those funds. So usually that happens if they've abandoned the property, they left, they didn't pay their last month's rent. So, your security, there's probably going to be some debt owed. So you're not going to hear from them anyways. If somebody's got some money that you owe them, typically they're going to give you the forwarding address. So you got 30 days to do that, 30. And you're required in Texas as well to show the itemizations. So if you say, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant, you owe us, or we subtracted out of your $1,500 security deposit, $500. This is for light bulbs, cleaning, blah, 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 blah. Here is the itemization of that $500. We had $75 in light bulbs, $125 in smoke detectors, and a $200 cleaning. Just do the math, whatever adds up to $500. There it is, there's your itemization. This is what it's taken out for. We are now going to cut you a check for your remaining security deposit of $1,000. And you just mail that check to their address. if you're, a smaller landlord with 1 or 2 properties, you can just EFT, maybe do a Zelle or Venmo payment to them, whatever's easiest for you. We always just mail the checks to their forwarding address. And then that's done. As long as you do that mailing or send the funds before the 30 days after the tenant moves out, you're fine. So that's the whole process. Make sure, I'm going to just go high level recap through this again. Security deposits are not the owner's money. You as an owner, they're not yours. They are the tenant's money. Put them in a separate account. It will make your life a lot easier. If you have 2, 3, 4 properties, you don't need to put, if you have 3 properties and each of them are rented at $1,500, you don't need to put $1,500 in 3 different trust accounts or accounts if you want to. You can put them all in one account. Just make sure you don't touch that account, okay? Put the security deposit in a separate account. It's the tenant's money. You can only use the security deposit for damages above normal wear and tear or any outstanding charges from the lease. If they skipped out on rent, there's late fees, things like that. The deposit needs to be returned within 30 days from the move out, and then you are required to give an itemization to the tenant to show them where the money that you deducted from the security deposit went. And if they request, you have to give all the receipts and invoices. That's why I'm saying you have your contractor in there, you just have them itemize everything. And you can say, I'm charging you exactly what my contractor charged me. There's no markup, there's no funny business, and then you go and then you move on. And the tenants, we've done hundreds. I've done hundreds of security deposit deductions, and I have probably given back, it's on one hand, maybe just 2 or 3 times where somebody's presented some evidence that made me change the security deposit. It's very rare because we have such good documentation when somebody moves in and when somebody moves out. So I hope that was helpful. That should give you, if you're looking at this from an owner perspective and you're getting a little nervous about security deposit, this is it. I've just given you exactly how to do it. That right there is fair to the tenant. It's what you're supposed to do as an owner. It's per the Texas Property Code, and you will not get in trouble doing it that way. I do recommend do a video, bunch of pictures up front, do a video and a bunch of pictures in the end, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. So I have had many times where somebody's disputing the security deposit, we send them a picture or video of that, and we never hear from them again. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, y'all let me know. If it wasn't, let me know. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll see you next week.